white women at?
Let's do this.
White Chicks. It's a 2004 buddy cop movie that I think is understood at this point to be a cult classic. At the time, it was not well received. In fact, White Chicks was nominated for 5 Razzies, including Worst Picture, Worst Actress for the Wayans brothers in drag, Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, and Worst Screen Couple. This movie was, of course, directed by Keenan Ivory Wayans, and there were script contributions from Marlon and Sean Wayans, as well as them being the starring actors in this catastrophe of a film. I'm Luxander. This is Musing Moss, and we talk about movies usually from a trans or queer lens, or looking at the politics of it all. And I thought, I was going in, I was like, okay, White Chicks, I remember being a really dumb movie, and inherently, like, they're in drag, and there's got to be something. There's got to be something problematic about this that we can talk about. And in addition to that, it gives us an opportunity to talk about the fact that Marlon Wayans has a trans kid, and what kind of parent he is, and how that fits into the current context of all the nonsense going on in the world. We'll circle back around to that later in the video. I gotta say, I'm sorely disappointed in what I found in this movie. Okay, so you have this movie where the basic premise is these black FBI agents have to protect these rich white women from a kidnapping potential issue, and through shenanigans, they end up having to impersonate these women. A lot of the behind the scenes stuff about this movie is regarding the 5 to 7 hours it took every day to put these men in these prosthetics. It's a hilarious premise. We are supposed to think that these women are identical to the Wayans brothers that genuinely people cannot tell the difference. So the basic premise and the suspension of disbelief required is astronomical and very, very funny. So for a movie where, okay, not only are 2 men cross-dressing as women, but 2 black men are cosplaying white women, everything else going on, and it being 2004 and everything. Tell me how this movie didn't manage to have a single mean-spirited joke. I don't think there was a single thing in this movie that was mean-spirited in a way that you would say, corresponds to any level of discrimination or anything. When you're observing who is the butt of the joke in any of these given situations. And now, correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. If you think that there's something about White Chicks that's mean-spirited, I will say, the target of a lot of the jokes appears to be very specifically rich white women. I know that there are some people who say, oh, you're just saying you're making a direct critique of white women, but that's just a way for you to be misogynistic or whatever. Some people will say, I know you said white trans women do this, that, and the other, but really, if you take off the white part, you're still just making a criticism of trans women in general. There are, I would say, some misogynistic jokes, but I also think that those are largely contextualized within rich white girl culture, the high expectations around that. There are some scenes where women's disproportionate body issues are the butt of the joke, and I think that's the closest we get to a sincerely problematic take. There's a whole shopping scene where one of the women is calling herself fat and all this, and she's one of the skinniest of the 3 girlfriends that they hang out with. The one who is actually what I think at the time would have been considered a plus size woman. There's nothing about her body image or making fun of her body or anything. It's only this very obviously attractive skinny woman having a disproportionate reaction. That's the only thing. And there are, I will also say, some gay jokes in it, but I don't think that they're mean-spirited. That you can make jokes about these things and have it ultimately still feel fun, and have it ultimately still feel like it's meant in good spirits, right? There's a scene where, okay, so Terry Crews is in this movie, and he's super attracted to, I think it's Marlon Wayans, the younger of the 2. And he's I really want to, my little white bunny rabbit, my little snow bunny. It's, okay, I'm so certain that they had a huge amount of fun with this movie. And I think that that is part of what makes it feel so lighthearted and so kind-hearted, is that everybody seems to be approaching it in good spirits. So Terry Crews is super attracted to one of the brothers as when he's in white woman makeup. And I think obviously there's an underlying premise of like he's attracted to a man and he doesn't know it, but that doesn't ever feel, I'm just going to keep saying mean-spirited over and over again if I don't stop myself. Sorry if I'm being repetitive at this point in the script. Would it shock you to know that I don't script these videos at all? So anyway, at one point, someone gives Terry Crews a date rape drug to try to use on the person that he's attracted to, and there ends up being a switcheroo, and he drinks the date rape drug, and the guy who gave him the date rape drug is also on it, and so they end up hooking up. That's like the closest to true homophobia in this movie, is they're both on these drugs and then they leave and curtains, and then they wake up the next morning and it's like, we did a gay thing, oh no. So, okay, in that context, I think it's like the continuation of the same underlying premise of all of these jokes is case of mistaken identity, or like case of being mistaken in your choices or whatever. It's like the whole thing about Terry Crews being attracted to Marlon Wayans' character is that he's mistaken about who the person actually is. And the additional comedy of it is that he remains steadfast in his attempts, regardless of how gross Marlon Wayans tries to be. Like, Marlon does all these things where he's like chews off his own toenail with his mouth and spits it, and he's eating all this food and it's real gross and everything. Like, genuinely doing everything to gross out the Terry Crews character. And Terry Crews is just like slightly thrown, but like redirects. He's like, I'm keeping my focus. I've got you in my sights. I'm going to keep this going. Honestly, the most cringe thing about this movie, and listen, this movie is very silly. It's got a lot of really dumb things in it, but I think the most cringe part of the entire movie is, again, another situation of mistaken identity. Sean, he is attracted to a journalist who's at this, big fancy event. All these white people are everywhere, and she's like the one black person around. And so he's like, oh, I'm attracted to her. And he decides to pretend to be Terry Crews. Like, Terry Crews is a sports guy. He's like a famous basketball player or something, which that's not the sport that I would have chosen if Terry Crews was the actor. Maybe football, but he's a basketball player, I think. Sean Wayans decides to pretend to be that guy in order to go on a date with this black woman journalist. It's the most cringe part of the movie. Like, they go to Terry Crews' house and it's like, oh, who is this dog? Like, oh, buddy, who's this dog? Like, he keeps pretending to be somebody he's not. And like, there's also it's not just to try to trick this woman. I mean, I do think that that's like a primary part of it, but they're also FBI agents. And so there's also this underlying plot, which it's kind of easy to miss if you are focused on just like, oh, this movie is a funny movie. But there is a kidnapping plot, and this guy who's super rich is actually out of money, and he's trying to bamboozle people. And so there's this whole thing going where they do end up collecting information and succeeding at bringing down like a crime ring, sort of, which, again, the established thing at the beginning of the movie was we need FBI agents to escort these white women because they are the daughters of some rich guy and they're at risk of being kidnapped, or we have intel that suggests that they might be at risk of being kidnapped. So under all of this dumb shenanigans is like a cop timeline where they are trying to solve a crime mystery kind of thing. But yeah, so the whole thing, I think, manages to avoid many pitfalls that you might expect from that period of time. And again, if I'm missing anything, if there's anything that you're like, actually, oh, I'm not even wearing my glasses right now. Actually, this is super problematic. Like, please tell me if I'm missing anything, because I will appreciate your comments and being corrected on this. I don't know that I have, like, this is the problem with this, though, is that I don't think I have a lot else to add at this point. Like, for them to do all of this and manage for it to not feel in any way like it's truly homophobic or truly transphobic or truly misogynistic or truly racist in any ways, like, while poking fun at all of those different identity labels in various ways, I truly think that this is a deeply enjoyable film. We will watch it again. Like I watched it with my partner. I was like, hey, let's go watch a dumb fucking movie together. And we got to the end. Oh, well, okay. So I'll say, well, we got to the end and we were like, yeah, I'd watch that movie again. So it's on the list. But I will say the opening scene is probably the most uncomfortable as far as we're making jokes about race and stuff, because like to set up the idea that the Wayans brothers can go undercover in deep cover by using prosthetics and by pretending to be someone they're not. The opening scene is them attempting to do a drug bust, and they are pretending to be Mexican, I think. So they've got this heavy prosthetics on. They're doing all this over the top like accents and just kind of saying random things in Spanish to make it sound like they're actually speaking Spanish. And like, I think that part is uncomfortable. And for it to be the opening scene, obviously it's awkward. You know, you kind of have to get over that initial cringe hurdle. So I correct myself earlier when I said that this movie kind of avoids being cringe for the most part. The opening scene where they're pretending to be Mexican, awkward, uncomfortable, don't like it. And then the scene where Shawn Wayans is trying to pretend to be a sports star so that he can get this woman to make out with him or whatever. So awkward stuff. But like I said, I feel a little bit robbed. I was like, this is going to be juicy. Nom, 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 nom. And all I can do is sit here and say, wow, that was a really fun movie. I enjoyed it a lot and I will watch it again. Now, this does open me up to an opportunity to talk about the real world context of, you know, what goes on nowadays, okay? Before I launch into this next section telling you about Marlon Wayans' trans kid, I want to take a moment to tell you that this video and all the videos, especially on this channel, are supported by my patrons because I am not in the partner program yet on this channel. So, hey, check out patreon.com/Luxander. I post little private things there, and I've got I'm going to get a new cat next month, and that's going to be the first place I post pictures of my new cat and everything. So subscribe over on Patreon if you're interested. And if you want to get some swag, I'm representing all the swag today. I've got my hoodie. I've got my giant mug. There are smaller mugs. This just happens to be the biggest one that you can get. So there's a couple different things. There's stickers all over there. Link in the description, should be a link in the description. So yeah, thank you for your support. So I think that it's a sensitive discussion. It's a sensitive area. And I think that there's a lot of apprehension when we're discussing, a celebrity has revealed that they have a trans kid. I don't know if y'all remember Kevin Hart, I think in one of his stand-up specials, which debatable how real you are about your stand-up, but also Kevin Hart turned down the part of the gay guy, the gay rapper in Tropic Thunder, because he didn't want to play a gay character. So the fact that Kevin Hart said during one of his comedy specials that if he had a gay kid, he would try to beat it out of them effectively, I don't actually think that that's a misplaced concern to think that he might have been being serious when he said that. So for the particular cultural area, and I know as a white person, this is super awkward for me to be talking about it, but I do think that Black culture can in some ways be more resistant in some specific ways to trans and gay acceptance, because it's a heavily religious community. It's a community where you have to walk a tightrope in order to be acceptable and to avoid violence. And there are self-reinforcing mechanisms within that group that are designed to help them navigate white supremacist society. So all that to say, I think that there is a certain level of it's noteworthy for a Black parent of a transgender child to be as incredibly supportive as Marlon Wayans has been about his child Kai. So there's numerous interviews. I just pulled up one from people.com. For Marlon Wayans, this took a pretty short amount of time to go through the 5 stages of grief, as he sort of describes it. He says that he went from defiance to acceptance over the course of about a week. And he says, in that week, I grew the most that I ever did in my life. He speaks about unconditional love. Marlon also says he's a lot stronger than he thought he was, and that his family, brothers and sisters, have prepared him to be a rock in his own family. So yeah, he says that his kid is the same kid that they were before, and they just have a beard now. Like, okay, it's gorgeous. Okay, it's beautiful. It's really, it's quite heartening to see that a parent can, have this initial kind of reaction. And I think a lot of us, when we're dealing with our own parents, it's like, okay, how long of a process is this going to be? For some parents, it takes years. I've talked to people whose parents have never accepted them, but even the ones who do accept, sometimes it takes a good amount of time for them to process, and maybe they go through some kind of grieving. I think it's great to have an example of a parent who was like, yeah, at first I was defiant, I was not accepting, and over the course of a week, and it was like, maybe one of the most transformative or difficult weeks of their life, but they came around and they said, okay, it's fine. Like, this is my kid. I'm just going to be there and love them and support them. Like, unconditional love is the most important thing for me to do right now. That you can surprise yourself as a parent to go like, I didn't realize that it was possible for me to radically change in this way. I just like the beauty of it. Like, maybe this is part of why the movie didn't have a mean-spirited feel to it, that this family, like these three brothers, the director and the two actors that were all kind of together on the writing team, if they had been people who were more willing to make transphobic jokes, or if they were more like grossed out by it, that maybe this kind of transformative situation wouldn't have been possible. And so it's like hard to say, I guess, chicken or the egg, which came first? Was their relative lighthearted tone indicative of a willingness to be accepting? I don't know. Or maybe they were kind of like unaccepting, or would have considered maybe some transphobic opinions back then. And then when it confronts you directly, like when it confronts you in your own family, to go, oh shit, like I really need to deconstruct some beliefs pretty quickly here in order for me to continue being a good parent. So anyway, White Chicks, cult classic from 2004, nominated for several Razzies, generally not well received in its time. What's the Tomatoes? Hold on. I don't really check Rotten Tomatoes very often, so I might be perceiving this incorrectly, but if I understand this correctly, this movie received a 15% rating from the critics and a 55% rating from the viewers. So it was not critically acclaimed, but the viewers did like it, but the viewers didn't like it that much. It was like, only barely more than half and half. So anyway, that's pretty funny, and I really think you should watch it. If you haven't seen it in a while, maybe go take a little jaunt through film history and watch this goofy-ass movie. I promise you'll have a good time. If you're in the mood to like, I just want to check out of my brain and spend a little bit of time kind of just laughing at dumb shit, I think that this is the perfect movie. So, as a trans person, White Chicks gets a stamp of approval. Thank you for making a kind-hearted film. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any disagreements. And please do all the YouTube things. We're at the end of the video now. It's time for me to do the YouTube things. Like, subscribe, leave a comment that's a sentence or two long, because YouTube loves that shit right now. And consider sharing. Musing Moss is my second channel, and I'm working on getting it to a place where I can monetize it. Right now, if you're seeing ads, YouTube is making all of that money, and I have no control over how many ads are in the video. So please support dumb shit that I'm doing. And if there's any other movies you want me to review, leave me comments down below, and I'll add them to the list. Happy New Year, and thank you so much to my patrons, especially Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvag, Untitled 1, Pinky Bimbo, In a Box, Sarah A, Amanda B, Michelle Winter, Athiette, Nova, Danielle McDonald, Kevin Young, Suzanne Maynard, Liam Hodgson, Jamie Jam, Michelle Frateroli, Logan, Celeste, Mr. Atheist, Wellington Marcus, Desi Quiche, Nadia Yvette Chambers, Ing Marie, Ali T, Kawhi Esquire, Bo E, Art, Neurospiky, JT, and Solomon Kane.